welcome to the SH Figuarts review of Ryu and Chun-Li from the Street Fighter series. In this case, Street Fighter V. Previously, I have reviewed the Storm collectible Ryu from Street Fighter V, and I will be comparing him with Ryu here. And also on a note that I will also see how well M. Bison or Vega fits from the Storm collectible figure fits with these. And it says here, this is the special SH Figuarts line with the fighting body logo there, so it's a semi-sub line, you can consider that. Both boxes are the same style, and you have the red and blue going on. The next two SH Figuarts Street Fighter characters are Cammy and that Indian guy with the little scope on his eyes. I don't know his name because I haven't played Street Fighter V. And inside the box there it says 01 and 02, so definitely going to be doing a lot more of these in the future. And on the other side of the box it also has the 01, 02 while continuing the print on the front of the box. And on the back there's some nice printouts there, very detailed. I like the background poses that they do. On one side they have a little bit of different poses and different attacks that they can do on this side, as well as a character stats on how powerful they are at the bottom there. Just going to take one of these boxes because there is a bit of text here talking about the fighting body. So, do we still have the original SH Figuarts line? Yes, it's still here. SH Figuarts is a new standard figure series that uses the art style of Bandai action figures to successfully pursue character expression through humanoid action. So they've updated this text compared to the older ones. If you do want me to compare the older ones, the old one is SH Figuarts is a new standard figure series that incorporates the Bandai action figure art under the theme pursuing character expression through humanoid action. So they changed it just a little bit without the quotes and stuff. So the fighting body. The Fighting Body series is based on the concept of faithfully recreating techniques unique to hand-to-hand combat characters while integrating new gimmicks not found in conventional SH Figuarts format. The series challenges the limits of figure articulation and molding expression in order to produce 1/12 scale figures which embody the fighting characters, quotes, that have perfected their bodies and fighting abilities. So I think this subline, this subline also includes the wrestling people and also this wrestling anime that they did, but yeah, it's kind of cool. Is that one of the really awesome thing is that once you get it out, you realize that, hey, wait a minute, that backing cardboard isn't actually a backing cardboard. So we're going to move these two figures aside and see that these backing cards are actually the backdrops from the video game itself. So that's pretty awesome. Yeah, so because of the size of the box, each background is split into two pieces, and I expect the next two Street Fighter V characters to also have backdrops based on their characters in the box as well. So the good news is, because they're made out of two pieces, you can extend the background for, you know, a lot more than what you would get if it wasn't. The cardboard, it's just basic cardboard, so they will get water damage if you're not careful, for example. So they are cardboard, so you have to be careful of them. And the downside of them being two pieces, of course, you get a nice, nasty cut through the middle of the stage, which kind of annoys the display a little bit. The print does continue off the side, so some people might want to like stick these together and make it slightly more seamless. And another thing about these is, you stand the card on the back. Another thing about these is that they are a pain to fit back into the box. So much so, it's a very tight fit inside the box. If you do put these back inside the box and try to push the plastic frame of the figure back into the box, I've warped the plastic frame of my boxes just by trying to push them back into the box, the paper box. So that's a little bit annoying. So aside from these background papers, you also have the instruction sheets. Of course, there are a lot more English on these instruction sheets because, well, Street Fighter is a worldwide sort of thing. So if you want to take a closer look at photo shoots of the backdrops, box art, instructions, as well as the figures, please feel free to head over to the Flickr or Facebook link in the video description below. How well do these open up? And, well, nothing fell out. That's good. Let's try Chun-Li. And, well, that's good. So... accessories with Ryu here. Let's see. So Ryu, aside from the fists already attached to his hands, he also has two Hadoken open hands, which means he doesn't have any item holding hands, so he's not going to be able to hold anything. That's not an accessory. That head strap, that's just attached to his head, so just to get it out of the way from the box, but it's not technically an accessory. So he has a generic expression, a expression, and a ha expression. He's got a Hadoken with a stand to hold up the Hadoken. Lee here, aside from the fist on the hand, she also has 2 spray open hands for her version of Little Hadouken. It's not Hadouken, but a pet little energy ball. She also has palm hands and different posing hands for all of her moves. Her face, she has got a generic expression, a kinda annoyed or slightly happy expression, I think, and a ha expression. She has a special effects part here for the ha 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 ha, her crazy kicks, and a little stand for the crazy kick effects part. So we have both figures in front of us. The Storm Collectible one is a little bit bigger because they follow the American 1/12 scale, whereas of course the SS Figuarts follows the Japanese 1/12 scale design. So we've got the base body there, and both of them have their fists attached. Okay, that's the same. They both have 3 different facial expressions: plain expression, expression, and ha expression. So again, that's equal. And obviously the Bandai one has this little ribbon thing detached, but that doesn't count as accessory because the official one has that permanently attached. So that's the same. The Storm Collectible ones has way more hands. Both of them have a Hadouken hand, but the Storm Collectible ones also has a slightly relaxed hand and slightly sort of kind of grippy hand, but not enough to grip a knife, and just a little bit more grippy hand. Are they necessary? Not really, because they don't hold that much features, but they're definitely great for posing and photo shooting if you want to do some if you want Ryu to go into some sort of training pose. Those hands are good. And both of them have Hadoukens, but the Storm Collectible one has 2 levels of Hadoukens. You can add the extra yellow sparking one, so it's like a level 2 Hadouken or 3, I can't remember. But you can power up and charge to make the Hadouken more powerful. So he's got that, and the Bandai one doesn't have that. Instead, the Bandai one has a stand, but the Storm Collectible one doesn't need a stand because the fingers slot into these grooves in the Hadouken, so you can actually hold them up. And so I can't really count that stand as an accessory piece for the Bandai one because it is necessary for the Hadouken to stand there, but it is nice in knowing that that means that the Hadouken can be in the firing pose, it can be away from the hand and still be held up. So that's good. But the Storm Collectible ones has an actual stage with a nice Street Fighter V logo, digitally printed logo, but it's still good, and actual stand to hold the figure up, whereas there's no stage act for Ryu, no signature stage act for Ryu anyway. You can get, buy some extra regular ones, but you're not going to get a specifically designed Street Fighter V one, which is a bit of a shame. So overall, the accessories are definitely nicer on the Storm Collectible one. If you want more poses, you don't mind the size, and if you want the Ryu here to fit with the American or NECA series of figures, then the Storm Collectible ones is much more on scale and has much more accessories, so you definitely want to go with him as well. Sets uses their backing cards as a way to put in a little backdrop that you can use. And I have no doubt that Bandai only gave us this backing card because Storm Collectibles came out first and had a backing card, and Bandai was like, oh, we want some people to buy our stuff, so we have to make it better, we need to make it good and have similar accessories. So without that, they probably wouldn't have had a backing card. It's a similar case to when Figma released, they licensed Dragon Knight, which is the USA version of Ryuki, and they're releasing Ryuki figures at the same time as Bandai, and so the Bandai SS Figures Ryuki back then was some of the best quality and nicely done Figuarts that have been released. Probably because there was competition, another brand was making Ryuki related figures, so that's the thing that they did. So the backing cards, they both feel exactly the same sort of cards, same smooth texture. This one's obviously taller because the figure and the box is bigger, they can allow more space, and it's one seamless card, which is useful. Unfortunately, they printed the copyright at the bottom and the front there, which is really annoying. And this one here is, of course, it's, like I said, it's cut in half to fit in the box, but you can notice that that means it's longer, it's wider, so it can actually show more of the stage, because in the Street Fighter game, the stage actually extends a bit more, because when you walk to the left, to the right, you get to see a bit more of the stage. In this case, you get to see more here, and actually extends further. The Storm Collectible ones goes about here, where the leaf is, whereas the Bandai one carries on going forward. So if you want more of that, then the Bandai background is better, but of course the Bandai background is cut right down the middle, and they did print copyright stuff, but one's going to be hidden because it's cut down the middle, and one's going to be the edge here, so that's okay. And while these are obviously the same stage, it's very interesting, it's kind of funny in that the animals are in slightly different positions because it's like they just opened the game and took. Capcom didn't give them this image. They opened the game and they took a screenshot themselves. So it's like it's almost the same background, but not quite. And I will say that the Stone Collectible one actually extends more on the floor, which can be useful because if you want to take photos of the feet, you want there to be some floor texture than the Bandai one. But the Bandai one, it actually extends more above. So if this was scaled up to the Stone Collectible size, the Bandai one shows so much more of the stage than the Stone Collectible one. Stone Collectible one goes to about here, whereas you got all this extra space. So this entire upper bar and bar on the right show way more than the Stone Collectible backing card. So despite having a cut in the middle, if you want more to see, Bandai one's better. But of course, if you don't want to cut in the middle, then the Stone Collectible one is a given. In terms of look, the Stone Collectible one is much weathered and dirty, down to the cuts are more detailed because he's a little bit bigger, so they can afford to have a little bit more detail than the SH Figuarts one, I think. But personally, I don't like the dirty look too much. It might be a bit too dirty, if that makes sense. I like figures to be their normal look, their plain look, because if I want to add dirty details, I want to add that later. For example, when companies release like special editions where it's half transparent or it's a bit bloodied or battle damage versions. I don't like those versions because if I want to add battle damage, I will add it in the photo, I'll add it in the video like in the later time. And why is my phone vibrating so much? Oh, someone's sending me like 10 photos in WhatsApp. Oh well. But anyway, yeah, so that's that. The boxing gloves on Wii U are shinier than the Stone Collectible one, and in terms of the skin texture, the Bandai one is definitely slightly more cartoony, whereas the Stone Collectible one is much more natural. Stone Collectible uses a lot more soft plastic as well. Now both of them use soft plastic for their actual top, the cloth bit and the top bit. That's all soft material, and Bandai does that too, but the chest piece there on Stone Collectible is also soft material, which does cover the neck joint, but it does affect the articulation a little bit. Like he looks down, but the soft material pushes his head back up, whereas this Wii U can actually look really, really down and depressed. Stone Collectible one has a double joint for the leg, which I noted because it's interesting because the Bandai one only has one joint, which also cuts up the suit pretty obviously. So the Stone Collectible one actually hides it really well. And I'll also say that this joint down here, yeah, shows up far too easily for the Bandai one, whereas the Stone Collectible one, again, is hidden much better. Yeah, but there are some extra joints with the Bandai one. For example, there's an extra rotation joint at the joint there, which does worry me a little bit on how secure that will be. So, I will say this though, so this one hides the joints a bit better, but the articulation is not as nice as the Bandai one. Bandai has all these years to perfect the smoothness of their joints, and when they make a good Figuarts, the articulation feels very good to handle. Unfortunately, this one does not. They do not have that experience. It's one of their first ever actual articulated figures, and not only are the joints feel loose at times, but they also feel screechy, like I'm breaking the plastic. And I have mentioned this in previous reviews, how the plastic is actually rubbing against each other so much that they're actually like sanding each other off, sanding down the plastic in the joints. So, which means it'll become looser overall in the long run, and yeah, that's not very good. So, but bottom line is, for a new company, this figure is a good figure. So depending on the scale and depending on what kind of color tones you want, both figures are good. This one has more accessories, a weathered look, a larger size figure, and so if that's what you like, then great. But the Bandai one is just nicer due to the experience that they have with producing figures. So both of them have their pros and cons. I'm personally going to stick with the Bandai one because I don't need two Ryus, so I'll sell this off on eBay or something. And since most of my figure lines are the 1/12 scale, Japanese 1/12 scale, that's why I'm going to stick with that Ryu more than the Stone Collectible one. I'm still going to keep Vega and Scorpion because I don't have a good figure of them yet, so that's something. Articulation time, Ryu first. So yep, a double ball joint, double neck ball joint. So look down, look up, look sideways, full rotation, and then the arm is on a double ball socket joint. torsos on 2 ball joints. You can look really far down, including bending the legs, and you can bend really back. That's more than the Storm collectible one. Arm goes full rotation here, has a little bit of rotation here, which okay, that's probably why they put the joint here to cover the joint up there. So double elbow joints, as well as an extra articulation on the elbow, rotation there. Hands on little ball pegs on a swiveling joint, so you can move quite a lot there. Leg opens up. Does it come down? No. So leg rotates a little bit, goes up, back. Extra piece comes down there to cover the joints up, I guess. It's hidden for the most part due to this cloth. Sideways. Single knee joint, which I still don't quite understand why Bandai did that. Foot goes up, back. Oh, it goes really back. Oh, there's an extra rotation joint there. So it's rotating joint on the foot itself. That's a bit overkill. And toe goes up just a little bit. Doesn't really come down. So, well, the one on the feet do look quite bad with that piece stuck in there. Oh well. Has anyone made Dark Ryu yet with the Figuarts or different color variations? That's probably the easiest paint job you can do, because it's just painting on white, right? It doesn't actually get in any of the joints. Chun-Li articulation. So, her 2 little head balls, they're on a little hinge. That's good. Neck goes, look back, look forward. It's on a double joint, but she's very limited in her neck articulation. That's a little bit annoying. Is that a ball joint or a hinge? Let me take her face off. Come on. Oh, it's on a little hinge joint, so it's not a ball joint. So that would limit articulation just a little bit. On a double socket joint thing going on. They do come forward just a little bit to help with articulation, but not too much. They rotate just a little bit. Full rotation this way. Hand. It's on a hinge, single hinge, and rotation there. Joints are covered, that rotation joint. Hand itself is on a little ball and socket hinge. The torso goes back a lot, forward. This piece here is a very soft material. It's just stuck us quite snug up there, so that's good. But yeah, that means a single tummy joint. And leg goes up, down, forward, backwards. Oh, she's got really good leg articulation to do her spinning kick, of course. And yep, single knee joint again. Foot goes up, back, toe goes up 90 degrees pretty much, and it goes sideways a little bit. So yeah, Chun-Li has really good leg articulation, which is no surprise. She needs that leg articulation for many of her different poses. And yes, Vega looks fittingly bigger than them and menacing compared to the Figuarts. So in a good way, I think. You know, he's a bit bigger in the games himself. He's bulky, and here he's very menacing compared to them. So yeah, pretty cool. We can definitely combine. If Bandai never releases Vega, the Storm collectible one fits pretty well. I think this is a pretty nice start for Street Fighter appearing in the Figuarts line. You know, previously getting Street Fighter figures was a little bit hard especially in Hong Kong at least. You had the NECA line, and before that Rebeltech did a few, but they were sort of random characters. I reviewed the Chun-Li one, but they were much smaller than any other scale. The scale was just not consistent. And they didn't have main characters like Ryu, for example, so that was a bit weird. And articulation of those were pretty crappy as well. So it's nice to have a proper Figuarts, sort of this scale figure release of Street Fighter. And it's nice that they all come with accessories, different facial expressions and all that. So it's a really nice start. Now, the molding details on all of these are pretty good. They're more towards the cartoony side, but I'm fine with that. These Street Fighter has always been an anime in my mind, so I think that's pretty good. The paint details on both these figures are also pretty good. There's a few scratch lines here and there, a few niggles here and there, but hairline stuff, nothing that big a deal that's annoying. And as far as I can see from people online, not many people have had any print issues either, so the overall quality control is pretty consistent and pretty good. Well, it is weird for me that they didn't put double joints for the knees and arms. It works with these figures, so I'm just so used to having double joints in the figures that I play with that when I see one that doesn't have that, I'm thinking, what's going on there? But it's fine, it totally works, doesn't mess up the playability of the figures at all, and that's great. So the overall quality of these figures are pretty good. Storm Collectibles is going to be releasing a Chun-Li soon. I'm not going to get that Chun-Li, but I might take a look at the pictures and see how it compares to the SH Figuarts one. And I'm sure other people online will do the comparisons. Just not me. I don't have that money to spend to get a figure just to compare it and then find it impossible to sell it online, at least to break even. So that's not going to happen with me. Most of the joints on these figures are also hidden pretty well for the most part. I will say that some collectible one hides it a little bit better, but they are slightly bigger figures, and they also use a lot more soft plastic, which doesn't last as long as hard plastic, so that's a little bit worrying. The Street Fighter SH Figuarts also use soft plastic, but they do feel a lot more secure and safer than, say, the soft plastic from Figma figures, and I wonder what that is, what they've done. Who knows, must be some trade secret, but whatever. So, if overall you are a Street Fighter fan and you have, Figuarts or figures, or you like figures in general in this scale, these are really good gets, and I'm glad they didn't just start with Ryu and Ken. That would have been a bit boring. Chun-Li is a good character to start off with, and as well as secondary characters being released soon, I think it's really good, and they'll probably do more depending on how these sell. And these sell pretty well. Bandai has licenses with Marvel and Capcom now, so what could come next? Maybe more characters from Marvel vs. Capcom, and of course maybe we can finally get some high quality 1/12 scale figures for Resident Evil. That is, if the I think the PlayArts license with them has ended. I hope. If not, Capcom, please end the license. I will buy a lot of Resident Evil Figuarts if they ever release them.